So here we are, Bradford City. The legend that is Joe Cooke is an idol of mine and many other black Bradfordians. You know, Seth and myself were talking about you yesterday, Joe, and he just said to send his best wishes, but what an absolute pleasure and a gentleman you are. How's it feel to be back at Bradford City?
It feels nice to be back at Bradford City. It's, well, my second home really, apart from my house and how I'm living it. I've always felt welcome here, and it's done my career a lot of good from my playing days and from my ability to be able to communicate with people.
We're here to celebrate Black History Month. You know, you, for me, and for many other people, one of the pioneers, first black players to play at Bradford City. How was that? How were you received at Bradford City?
I was well received at Bradford City. I mean, I was an apprentice here. I left from leaving school at 16. At that time, there was about 10 apprentices. We had almost full team of under 16s. I made my debut when I turned 16. So I've always been involved in the high side of it as well. But yeah, no, I enjoy growing up in Bradford. They taught me a lot of respect for the people that I'm playing against. I've always tried to influence that on the field, try to bring that over on the field, whether it's the players or the officials. I've tried to have respect for them, and hopefully they've had respect for me over the years.
What was your impressions of the Kop? Because back in the day when I used to come as a young boy to support Bradford City, Joe Cooke was a mountain to me, and so was Bobby Campbell. So when I used to climb over the Kop there into the corner, it was no roof on it, and I used to climb the Kop and I used to see Joe take the field with Cess, with Bobby Campbell, and I was in awe of those players. What was it like being on the pitch, looking up at that kind of support?
It was when the support was there, and you could feel the crowd behind you. It made you rise a little bit more so as well. But to be perfectly honest, I was playing against another player on the field. I wasn't too concerned about the rest of the stadium. It was only if I knew I was doing my job right, then I could hear they could hear the chanting. But aside from that, I was too busy concentrating on my job in hand.
Tell me the feeling when you scored a goal at Valley Parade. What was that like?
And you've said yourself, I'm not that type of person to run around and go on my knees on the field. In those days as well, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of players, when they scored a goal, they shook hands, went back to the centre circle and kicked off again. Nowadays, it's a ritual that they have to do after they've scored a goal, and I don't think I could possibly do that. That's not in my character. It's not in my character to be flaunting about after you scored a goal. Shake hands, go to the centre circle, start again.
It's amazing you should say that, because I ran from the halfway line, I took it around the goalkeeper and scored, and I knew it was in, not when it left my foot, but the minute I heard the crowd, the Kop roar. It was that they must have anticipated that moment before I even knew I was going to do it, and that feeling still sends it down, knowing.
It's nice to score. It's nice to score, and it's nice to score and have a win. But yeah, and it's a combination of all the effort all the lads have done to get that ball into the net. That's what makes it worthwhile.
Having spoken to Cess, he said when you walked in the change room as a young player, the status that you brought, the physical presence that you brought, lifted not only him but a lot of the players, established players in the change rooms. How did you see your involvement and your introduction to the first team?
Well, it got me. My character got me that far in life, so I wasn't. wouldn't say I wasn't big-headed because I've never been like that, but I had confidence in my own ability. The managers and the coaches brought it out a little bit more, so I was lucky from my physique point of view that I could handle myself and both ends of the pitch. So nobody was going to take the mick out of me, put it that way. Even if as a young lad I could still handle myself. And then from there, once they could handle myself, I showed my ability then, and it progressed from there.
Your debut, did you play centre forward or centre half? Because at your time in Bradford City, your 2 spells at Bradford City, you played both positions, did you not?
I think I started off as a right back.
Wow,
I started off as a right back, and then I went into the centre half position and stayed there for a little while. And then I think again it was Bob Kennedy that put me up front, and I scored and I think probably leading scorer of that year. I'm not quite sure about that. Wow. But as soon as we were scoring at one end, they were letting him in at the other end. And so knowing I was a defender originally, the manager at that time asked me to stay at the back, or play at the back as well. So on occasions, the last 15-20 minutes, if we were struggling to needed the goal, then I would go up there. So it was a yo-yo type thing for a couple of seasons. But I must have done about 3 or 4 seasons centre forward, and I got sold to Peterborough as a centre forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then similar thing again at Peterborough. We were scoring goals as much as we were scoring goals at one end. They were letting it there on the other end. And the manager at that time, he says, right. Obviously, he knew I was a centre half as well, so he asked me to play there again. So I went there. I went to centre half, and then Oxford bought me as a centre half.
Wow.
And so I went to play centre half for Oxford and then similar thing again. The manager, that's Bill Reeves, I think, the manager put me up front there because he knew obviously my scoring records as well. So I was a bit of a yo-yo bit. It was lucky in one way that I was a centre half and a centre forward, in a cliche, because I knew what the centre half wanted to do at that given point, and I knew what the centre forward wanted to do at that given point. So it gave me a little bit of an advantage where he's going to stand and so forth. So it's working in those both positions helped me.
Right. Yeah. So your versatility definitely made a difference. Tell us a little bit about some of the characters in the change rooms at that time. You know, the players that were there. You know, Terry Dolan and.
The main characters when I played, when Bobby Campbell, when I used to play with Bobby, and obviously Cyril. It was a quiet. But it was Cesspod, Cyril. I call him Cyril. That's his given name. Yeah. But yeah, so Cesspod, he was quite off the pitch, but on the pitch he was a little terrier.
Look, Cesspod.
That's only Big Joe.
It's only Big Joe.
Are you alright, Cyril? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Yeah. Whereabouts are you now? Then sitting on the veranda?
Yeah, no, I'm in the office.
Are you in the office? Oh yeah, you'll tell me anything. Yeah. How are you keeping anyway?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I've been here for 10 years now. In
10? In St. Lucia?
Yeah.
You're joking? I can't believe that time's gone so quick, man.
Now, to celebrate Black History Month, one of the particular games that you played in back in those days was a Cesspod's testimonial. Tell me a little bit about that testimonial and why it was so historic and why it's really a landmark game for black players from Bradford, especially.
I don't know if it's correct, but I think that was the first testimonial for a black player, because obviously there weren't many black players in the league, or if they did happen to come along, they didn't last too long. And so Cyril was, I think, the first one that actually got to a testimonial stage. And it was nice that at that time, in all the leagues from the first division, which is at that time, second and third and fourth division, you could get a team of 16, 17 players to play in that game, and that was the whole of the Football League. black players, and that was about us. That was about it. So everybody knew each other, from Brendan Batson playing for West Brom in the first division, to me and Cyril playing in the fourth, and everything else, and everything in between there as well.
Growing up in Bradford, you could not imagine the buzz in the Kiwomya household when we knew there was a black, Cesspod's testimonial, but there was going to be a team of black players against a select Bradford City 11. It was such a buzz, a one-off situation, and something that has lived with me forever. What do you remember, anything particularly about the game?
Not too much about the game, but I remember a lot about the friendships that we made. Like I said, probably never met some of these other players prior to the game, but a lot of us kept in touch with each other after that as well. So it was nice to see that we weren't the only ones, because when me and Cyril were playing in the third and fourth division there was only me and Cyril in the third and fourth division. So every team, every ground that you went into, you never saw a black face. And so it was nice for us to at least be able to go out together.
And what I really want to understand is, how did your family feel coming to the games, knowing that you and Cess were at the game, really pioneering? I know at the time you wouldn't have seen it, but you are the pioneers of the modern day black players. How does your family perceive that?
Well, it's funny you should say that, but when I first started, 17, 18 years old, I used to leave the house, my family home, on a Saturday morning, or depending on where we were going. And I came home Saturday evening, and my mum and dad said, "Where have you been?" Seriously. Wow. Seriously. Where have you been? "No, I've just been over to Blackpool, we've just been over to wherever, I've just been playing." And they, "All right, okay then." And that was it. They weren't over in that. They saw it in the papers, the Telegraph and Argus on the Monday or wherever. "Oh, is that where you've been?" type thing. But I didn't broadcast it. I don't know if you know me, but that's the way we are. And they think, "Oh yeah, all right, yeah, okay." Did you win?
What about neighbours and friends? How did they perceive Joe Cooke in Bradford, playing for Bradford City?
Yeah, I think the non-family thought more about it than whether my family were just trying to play it cool, or I don't think it was. No, it was just that the way we are, just the way we are. That we don't take things for granted. Don't get me wrong. We work hard at it, but it's not the end of the world. You know, you're playing. You're a player, so you're up there on a pedestal. You still got to live life, and that's what's, since I've retired from football, and I've seen a lot of the lads go wrong along the way. So I've been able to maintain that level of discipline, or that level. I've played football, I've enjoyed it, moved on with life, and I've gone from that side as well.
It's great hearing you talk like this, because it really hits home that you're a down-to-earth, modest person, and I just need you to know what an inspiration you are. You don't really know how much you inspired a generation of black players.
Well, I hope I've inspired them for better things, shall we say. Even if they were going off the rails, or if they were just thinking of something else, and that just helped them to put them back on the path. That's I wouldn't say my legacy, but that would be a good feeling for me. I'd never know, but it would be a good feeling to
Yeah, I can confirm. I can confirm that when you take the field as a black player, especially in 95, 96, knowing that Joe Cooke had played on that field, knowing that Cespod had played on that field, and knowing that you can have heroes like Bobby Campbell, Joe Cooke and Cespod, and realise that dream.
One of my main help was Roy McFarland, when he was the manager here.
Right.
He helped me from my positional point of view, and my thinking forward point of view. So he helped me a lot. He helped me in more ways than one. So yeah, Roy McFarland was a big influence on my career as well.
It's funny you should mention Roy, because my early introduction to Bradford City was through Roy McFarland. You know, he came during one of the training sessions at Appley Bridge at that time, and he scouted the young players playing down there. So yeah, the England international Roy McFarland being at Bradford City, along with the likes of Trevor Cherry and, you know, those kind of international players, I'm sure would have made a difference. When it came to tactics, was it just normal tactics, 4-4-2, or has the game changed in terms of how they set up? Has it changed so drastically? Do you just think it should just be a straight 4-4-2? Because
well, yeah, it's either 4-4-2 or 4-2-4. It's but there wasn't that much variation from that. Basically, it was 4 at the back, 4 in the middle, and 2 up front, and occasionally there might be 4-3-3. Right. But not too far apart in senses, depending on who you were playing. But no, I wasn't too concerned about that. I was just down the middle. So where went round the wings and everything else was, depending on the game, was a different thing altogether. All I was concerned was the main danger area was the box, whether it's going forward or coming back.
you and Cess were quite close. Is it right that you both lived maybe 2 doors away from each other? And what was that dynamic like, the relationship going into the football club and living away from Bradford?
Right at the beginning, there wasn't many black players, and I don't think it was the colouring that brought us close together. But it did help, because you had to form some sort of barrier, because like today's games, you've got probably about 6 black players and 5 white players in most teams, or vice versa. Mm. And in those days, if you saw a black player on another team, it was not a miracle, but it was something. He must have been related to him or something, because you had to see him. But nowadays, it's changed. I mean, the crowds, for that reason as well, are a little bit more aggressive, because they didn't have any black players on their team, so they tended to. Well, I'll say abuse you, but try to get you going. And so the more they got me going, the more they chanted, the more effective it was for me. Right. Okay. So they were shooting themselves in their own foot by having a go at me, because I just upped my game a little bit more so than normal.
Did you have a special relationship with anybody on the players on the pitch? Whether it was like when I played, I had a good relationship with my counterpart fullback Wayne Jacobs. When you played, did you have a good? Who was playing at the side of you? And
yeah, I think so as well. I think you need to know your partner, shall we say? You need to know your partner, because if he goes for a run, you know you got to fill in for him and so forth. And you got to trust him. You got to trust him, because he can make a fool out of you just as easy as he can make a fool out of himself. So you've got to trust your partner. Depending on who's playing centre half with me. I mean, for a long time it was Peter Jackson. Peter. I spoke to him he spoke to me the other day, and he said, which was enlightening, was thanks very much for your help for when I was growing up. And I never realised that I'd had that much influence on him, but he said that, and that was quite pleasing for me. And so help him along the way, and he was a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, when we used to go to the away games, and you get the abuse, obviously the chanting and so forth, it was there, but that built character. You could either, that's in life, you can either bow to it, or you can and fight against it, or you can resist to it. It just depends on the person you are. And going through the apprenticeship of getting onto the field, that gives you some sort of strength. To go from that side. Whereas if you just get thrown in later on in life, you've not had the the backbone, or you've not had the education, or the and like I say, family values as well. Family have helped me along the way. Not to be so complacent with it, not to take it for granted, just to work at it.
I think that was a good game, Joe. I think we've done what we needed to do. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. It's been an absolute amazing experience. Lads, I want to introduce Joe Cooke for one game and one game only. Joe Cooke's going to come in, and the legend that is Joe Cooke for Black History Month is going to give us a real feel of how it used to be back in the day, being in the home change room, not the away. This is the home change room from back in the day, from the 70s, 80s, 96, when we were promoted. This is the change room where it all happened. My seat was here, Joe. Do you recall where you sat in this change room?
Where I sat?
Yeah.
Possibly over there, to be honest.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And walking into this change room, what's your initial feelings when you walk into this change room like now?
My initial feeling was I wish I had my boots. Wow. I would turn back the years, if I could turn back the years. Yeah, it's a nice feeling. You can't turn back the years, but you've got from what you had before. You can never lose it. You can never lose your history. So it's a nice feeling.
I think it goes without saying you're an inspiration to a lot of players that come into this change room. You're a Bradford lad that came from the youth team, that's been promoted with the team. You played centre half and centre forward. So I'm gonna have to say, Joe, I don't know if we could afford you in this day and age when it came to somebody that could score goals and stop the ball going into the net. You know, and talk about some of the colleagues that you had in the change room that made this team. I
wouldn't say I was an inspiration to people. I did a job and I did it to the best of my ability, and I hope people fed off that. If they could feed off the energy of that, then I'll have done my job. But I didn't go in with the intention of trying to make people like me anymore. Just do a job and then do it to the best of my ability, and that's all you can hope for.
You as a person, when I say inspired people, tell me your role in the team. Were you a captain? And I believe you were captain for most of the teams that you played
yeah,
for.
Yeah, I was captain here, and I was captain for all the teams I played for, from Oxford, Rochdale, Exeter, Wrexham. I played in Europe with them in Europe in the Spanish First Division against Spanish First Division teams. But yeah, it's part of my life. It's not my life. It's not all my life because there's other things in life. Yeah. But it's a good part of my life, and I've enjoyed it. And if I could do it again, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Give me a little bit of how you felt in a match day experience. Run me through your time from leaving the home to getting into the change of the team being named. What was it feeling? What was it feeling like playing at Bradford City, knowing the expectation?
Well, if you could speak to my wife, she'd be going crazy because I was very superstitious. Mm-hmm. I had to do certain things on the match day. I can't remember offhand what it was, but there was certain rituals that I had to go through, and it seemed to give you not confidence, but it seemed to be making it flow rather than if I missed any of the bits, then there was a little bit of apprehension there. But generally speaking, you prepared it through the week, and then hopefully it was going to happen on the Saturday or the Wednesday night.
And what did it feel as you were coming down Manningham? If you're coming in from Manningham Way, down the hill into the car park, and then the buzz of the fans at Valley Parade getting ready to take their seats or their stand?
It was a buzz. I mean, the people have been working hard all week, and then this is their relaxation time, coming to watch us play football. So we're hoping we're going to entertain, and better than that, hoping more than that, we were going to win the game for them. So there was a buzz of expectation and a bit of apprehension, but that's part of life. That's what makes it worthwhile. That buzz.
Do you realise your success and the legacy that you've left now at Bradford City? There is now, when you play for Bradford City, an expectation of winning, and this is down to the teams that you played in. Did you sense that? Did you know you were building that at the time?
No, I didn't know we were building it up. I mean, we went out there to win the game, and luckily we won more than we lost at home anyway. And so, no, like in life, you always look for the best, and if something happens in between, then it's bad luck. But you go for the best.
Going again, looking around this change room, I can see in my mind's eye, you know, if I was sat there, Mr. Jacobs would be over there, and there'd be other players that would be in and around, you know. So we talk about Eddie Yowes and Nicky Mohan. I'm going to look and talk about how it's changed. So when we're in this change room, so the manager would address everybody from here. Was it the same in your day? The manager would come in and address?
Yes, and it'd stand in the centre, and then...
You be the manager.
No,
give me a little bit of a pep talk. Joe Cooke pep talk.
Joe Cooke pep talk.
Come on.
No, it talked to the... I wouldn't say the main players, like say certain positions.
Where's Bobby? Where's Bobby Campbell?
Exactly.
Yes.
Bobby. Certain free kicks, and we'll go through them again. Who's picking up who, and so forth. And I think you will have done your homework through the week anyway, but that's he's just recapping on certain things. And then come at half time, if you're not doing the job, that's when you get a scene to, shall we say. I won't swear on there, so you don't have to edit it. But yeah, it's as a manager's job. That's it to manage a team, to make sure that you're doing the things properly. And as a player, you've got to implement it onto the field. The law of averages, the numbers say that you've got 60, 40, 50% black players. The law of averages says at least a percentage of that should go in. Some of them are in the management side, but in the coaching side, not in the hierarchy. So the numbers say that they should be up there. It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. This is what the concern is. So when we talk about taking the knee now, is it going to make a difference?
No, I don't think it's going to make much difference, to be honest. I mean, and it's like everything else. It's like an advertising board. If it's been there long enough, people stop looking at it. And so you've got to change the colouring of it. You've got to change the thing of it for them to start, something different there. Yeah. But if they just blasé the people, then after a while they'll just talk above it. They'll go to talk something else. Whereas before, right at the beginning, like everything else, when it's new, you look at it. You've got to keep readjusting it. You've got to remarket it.
Once you're financially secure, then you can buy your own business. You've got ambition to go and do what you need to do. But in football, you need a mentor. You know, that's what I said to you. Joe Cooke walking into the change room makes a difference because he's been there, seen it, done it, right? We need to be inspired by that kind of leader.
I think, once one or two start going through, then it resonates, then it'll start resonating towards the younger element. But you've got to break the ice first. You've got to break into it.
We've been breaking the ice for 30 years.
Yeah, but it's a bloody thick ice. It's a bloody thick ice. It is, man. It's polar ice. It's a polar cap. It's a polar cap. Trying to break that one now. It's not one of them that's in your fridge. It melts in your glass of wine or whatever.
Do you remember a particular game or particular games? Because you got promoted with Bradford City. So what was that like?
One of the best games I can remember was against Norwich. Yeah, I think it might have been the quarterfinals of the cup. And we were falling well. We weren't doing particularly well in the league at that time, but for some reason the cup was keeping us going. So I seem to remember that game for the finishing, really, how it finished. So it's that's one game that stands out in my mind. The Southampton game was disappointed. Again, they went on to win the cup that year. We got beat in the I think quarterfinals, and if we'd have beaten them, we had a good chance of actually getting to the final from that. But yeah, it was a close game and disappointing. But we brought a little bit of notice to the city by playing so well.
A real highlight for me in my career was getting promotion at Valley Parade. And what I want to talk about is your promotion, more importantly, and the pitch invasion that occurred on the day that you got promotion.
There's not a lot I can remember about it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, you go through those moments, and it's not a blur, but the enthusiasm of the crowd made it worthwhile as well. But yeah, there's not a lot of much I can remember about it, to be honest. It's just a blur from there.
It's interesting because, again, like when I think about Bradford City, you know, and promotion especially, I think about the open top bus that we had. You didn't have an open top bus, did you? For some reason, I remember promotion always being celebrated in that corner, and they're coming out and holding the trophy just above where you come. For some reason in my mind, that's always seems to be where promotion was celebrated. But in 95, 96, we were lucky enough to have a civic reception, and we came from Valley Parade all the way into the city, and I have never experienced anything like that, because not just was it the whole city coming together, you know, but it was just a glorious, glorious day, a fantastic day, from the weather's point of view, from the fans' point of view. And you know, we always would like to celebrate promotion, but you've experienced that, and I'm sure that, like you've just said there, the memory, and I'm hoping you've got some footage of it, because that memory will be in the hearts of a lot of Bradford City fans. And just for you, it was just a moment that...
I think for me, it was more relief. More release than anything else. We finally crossed the line. We went across the line, and by the time you come back down from it, you know yourself after the game, you're still on the high, the adrenaline is still pumping, and it takes a long time for it to come down. Hence, we used to go out, if we went out for a drink afterwards, at least just to bring it back down again. But it's more the adrenaline that's pumping in you, and you can't take everything in until you look at it. Many years later, and like you say, but when you're in that moment, I don't think you can appreciate it as much as you should. If you could harness it, then it'd be ideal. But it's just a blur. Everybody's running around and doing anything else. And well, we just finished the game. Adrenaline is still pumping. You can't enjoy it like you should do. It's only later then you can enjoy it. And at that moment, you can't enjoy it. I don't think so. Personally, anyway, that's it.
I know, Joe, that you went to St. Blaise, and in my upbringing, I've been blessed with a faith that believing that anything is possible, you know, and I prayed that one day I would have success in my life, and Bradford City brought that success. How do you feel about your destiny? You know, do you see
I think I've achieved my destiny to a certain extent. I mean, like you said, you prayed for the success. I prayed for my family to say that I want them to be healthy, enjoy what they want in life, and be a good person. I mean, it sounds a bit, I would say, I don't know what it sounds like, but I'm just thinking I've got a good family. My immediate family, my children and my parents, obviously I've lost them now, but my sisters and my brothers, and we meet up regularly, we have a good laugh, and we call it rent a party. So once when we get together, it's a party. So it's when I see families that fall out for no reason or don't see each other, and they say, well, I'm not seeing my sister for 10 years or something like that, it just breaks my heart. When
I speak to Cess, the first thing he'll say to me is when I ask him about describe Bradford City, the first word he says is family.
Yeah.
You know,
very much so.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I say, more so like when I was playing, because all the lads came through the ranks together. Later on, they were buying imports in, and they were coming into play a certain amount of years, 2 or 3 years, and going out again. Whereas the lads I played with, I mean, Gary Watson, and I still see Gary now on a regular basis. He's got his own carpet business, so he does jobs for me at my place.
What about Barry Gallagher? Because he was from St. Bede's,
yeah,
my old
I haven't
school.
seen Barry. Last time I saw Barry was about 3 at the golf club, I think.
Right, okay. You play golf?
No.
You asked me earlier when we walked into this changing room, you know, where the big bath was, right? That goes to show how much times have changed. We've gone from the big bath to the ice baths now.
Yes.
You know, so it's such a comparison. And I just want to come in here because this is strange for me, because it's now a toilet, and we would have gone in there, all the lads back in 95, 96 and 80, you know,
bath there.
Yeah, we would have just climbed in that big bath and thought note of it, you know, celebrating as we do. We've just recently come through a pandemic, and it makes you realise how together the team at Bradford City was. You know, I don't know if it's...
But you had to be quick, especially if it was a day like today where it's raining and it's all muddy and the pitch is muddy. You had to be the first in the bath.
Yeah, because you didn't want to... Yes.
Because if you were the last in the bath, you might as well not have got in the bath.
See, I forgot about that. Yeah. Because that bath took a hell of a long time to refill.
If you had any advice to the young players of today, what would it be? Especially the young black players of today, what would it be? Young lad at Bradford City, Abu Issa, you know, just come new to the club. What would you encourage him? Once he gets onto the pitch, what would you say to him?
Like the manager would say to him, just do your best of your ability. If it works, I mean, he's on the pitch because he's got that ability. If he's got the character, that's when he's going to go forward. To get that character, it's got to have been inbuilt from a family relationship to a environment where he's been brought up. Same like the American boxers, or the boxers, for example, they've been brought up in a rough environment, so they've learnt to fight. And then similar from the football side of it, you've got to want it. Like everything else in life, you've got to want it, whether you're black, white, or indifferent. You've got to want it. And if you don't want it enough, then you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it no matter what colour you are.
In terms of character now, what you're talking, what do you need to do to win the fans over at Bradford City?
As a player, a black player, or as a white player?
Just
or
as a player.
As a player.
As a player first and foremost.
So show effort, that's it. End of the matter. If you show enough effort, the skill will come through, obviously, because you're on the pitch in the first place. If you've got the skill and you don't put the effort in, then the skill is neither use nor ornament. If you've got the effort and you haven't got the skill, then the effort will get you through a little bit further than just having the skill alone. But they want to see enthusiasm. They don't want to see you bury your head in the sand or in your hands if you make a mistake. They want you to get up and have a go again. You make another mistake. But that's life. You want to try to do your best. Just keep trying. That's what the fans want to see. Just keep a trier.
And what would you, if you could give a message to the Bradford City fans for the time that you spent down at Bradford, your 2 spells at Bradford City, what would that message be?
Thank you. That's it, really, to be honest. I mean, because they've always been good to me, the fans at Bradford, and I've seen some players not cry, but I've seen some the fans make some players crying on the things. But yeah, no. Even if we've lost a game, a silly game that we should have won, they've always been okay with me, the fans. That's one thing I can say. Else I wouldn't still be coming back here doing these things. If the fans weren't good to me, you're not going to come back, are you?
Well, as a fan of Bradford City, Joe, I want to say a massive thank you, not just on Black History Month, but for the legacy that you've left at Bradford City for not just black players, but for all players of all colour, because you have been a true inspiration, and You will always be a legend in my eyes and for many fans' eyes. So I want to say thank you for doing this
Thank you.
interview with me today.
Okay, thank you.